So I'd like to make a video for all of the ZS190 and 212 owners or engine swap enthusiasts that like to put these engines from China on Honda Groms or any personal projects or just swapping them out. They're all over the internet. You can get them on eBay, basically Amazon, everywhere you can look, Alibaba, whatever. I have had 3 of these engines now, both in configurations of 190 and 212s, and I have them personally right now on a reverse trike. It's got 2 wheels in the front, 1 in the back. It's just some custom vehicle I made. It's fully street legal, as you can see over there, and I'm running it on the road, and it's maxing out probably with a 17 tooth sprocket on the front, which is as big as you can get, and a 35 on the rear, about 70 miles an hour if you're really pushing this thing. The reason I bring that up is when you're pushing it really hard, you get a lot of crankcase pressure in these engines, and then the crankcase breather hose, they like to shoot out a lot of oil onto the road, and just after a while you end up looking down and you'll see either you have no oil left in your crankcase at all because it shot all of it out because of the built-up pressure, or it's just making a mess every single time you go someplace and you got to bring some oil with you to refill it up. I found the solution. I finally figured the solution out. I've tried many different things. I've checked my rings, I've checked the piston to see with blow-by. These engines all have blow-by. It's just a matter of bad specs when they're making these things. They just don't have them precise like, say, a Honda engine would be. You're just going to have that issue with a Chinese engine. So the solution is the crankcase breather hose. No matter which way you do it, if you go up or down, if you put way up here and hope that the oil doesn't come out and you put a little filter on the top of it, doesn't fix it. The solution is, I'll show you over here. Turn the camera around. So I've seen a number of people do this, but this is an oil catch can from Amazon. It's, you know, pretty large. I would say it's the size of a soda. What you can do with these things, and for cars or whatever the case is, it has an inline hose that goes in, and notice it says in and out. There's a reason I did it opposites, and I'll tell you that in a minute. There's the inline that comes from here, and this is tracking all the way back to my actual crankcase breather port back there. That comes up through this hose, comes into this catch can. Now the reason I have that in the outlet port is because it comes in on this side on my inlet, and it comes into this can, and there's an actual little baffle inside of there that's almost like another filter that before it comes up, and where you could exit out of here and say wherever you want it to go, or you have it breathing. This is where I have it coming out. This is my exit with the actual air or oil used to come out of, and it trails to the underside of my bike right there, so you can see. But I'm not running it out of there, because if you do the opposite way, and say if I was to come into here where it says in, it's immediately coming through a baffle, which makes backup pressure on it for one, but then also this port is right next to the exit port, so any oil that's coming in, how much is it's actually going to come into this can is very unlikely, and who knows. It's mostly just going to go immediately in and out, whereas it's a separate port too. They have it drilled, so this access doesn't access to the other side. So as it comes in, it fills up this whole thing first, and then it comes up through a baffle system, if any oil makes it out at all, and then one want to come back out of here. So it's just, that's the reason I have it going through this side and not through the actual in. And I have this one blocked off. They actually come with this block. It's usually sitting at the top. So as my oil comes in, this can is usually just completely empty, and it wants to fill up, and it's just blowing around in there with the air, and then it wants to shoot up. Once it gets full, and in the air that's, you know, catching that oil too, it wants to get caught in that baffle and comes out my tube. Well, I tried that system, and it's caught most of it, but still, because it's just blowing around in there, it'd want to fill up this can, and once it got full, it would want to just go crazy with all the air pressure and blow itself out of here, because there's nothing to really stop it. And once it's full, you know, it's really going to want to come out and start shooting oil like crazy, which is, that did happen. And I was wearing riding gear, and it just totally coated my clothes. I mean, my whole bike was just covered with oil. Well, I have a solution to that now too. So this is where the old return line to the engine would be. What I've done is I filled this canister up. I literally just got a thick, coarse as you can find, steel wool, and I stuck it inside of this thing. So this is full of steel wool now. It's not just an open canister. It's just like up here, they come with a baffle with steel wool in it, but it's only like maybe that big, and it's maybe an inch deep. It's just like a quarter size by maybe an inch. It's really small, and it works as a baffle to maybe catch oil before it comes out. Well, now this whole thing is just one big cotton one, or a steel wool. It's just one big pluff of it. Stick it in there, and then that helps catch the oil so it doesn't immediately shoot back out. But another thing I've changed too, because remember I mentioned if this oil fills up and fills up and fills up, well, here's your return line. It's only going to go back to the engine after it fills up to this point and wants to return back. Well, what I've done, instead of doing that, I've gone to the underside of it, and I drilled and then tapped it into this aluminum. It's thick enough, but it's not very thick. You have to be careful when you're doing it. I've put in a 3/8 barb that just is threaded on one side, and then obviously the barb comes down. In hindsight, I would have put an elbow on here, so it's a right angle one because it comes close to this. It doesn't touch, but that's just something I should have done. But anyways, it's a barb that comes through, and this is my return. So now, instead of this being able to fill all the way up with oil, and then it starts to shoot out of here because it's getting so full and crazy, and it's just all that pressure is wanting to throw it out of the actual bike onto the ground and return through here. It has to wait to that point. I've decided now it goes down here. So this never even, I mean, if it's filling up and you're revving it out 70 miles an hour, it'll fill up to maybe here for a second, but after a very short amount of time, it's coming out of the bottom. It's draining right out. Now, where does this hose lead? Or where did it used to lead when it came out of here? Well, trace it back, it's going right in my head. On these heads, I've seen people put them up here on the top of the head. There is a cam chain and a gear that goes across, and if I had this open, you could see. But it's super close to here, and besides, this isn't a flat surface either. You can see it's concaved, so it's not a very good spot to have purchase of actual threads or a washer or gasket. So I've decided to move it down here on the side. There's no issue of this filling up with oil and like wanting to run backwards out of the hose into the wrong direction. There's a whole bunch of room. I've also cut this barb too. It's the same thing, 3/8 barb. I've cut the actual threads down, so they're only sitting through as far as the aluminum. And the aluminum is about an 1/8 inch thick. So you got plenty of purchase of threads, but then it's not sticking beyond there. So it's nice and flush. So I mean, I probably have inside of there at least 1/8 of an inch or almost 1/4 of an inch between the actual barb threads and any sort of mechanical stuff going on with that cam chain gear and other components. So there's no risk of that hitting, but this is where this is going. When this fills up to any point at all, and remember, it's getting caught by all that steel wool, it's coming down through and just draining immediately back in to the head. There is a little bit of pressure inside of this too, so after a while it does, you know, push back and forth, but it's not really too much of an issue because the amount of pressure that's inside of this head is not nearly as much as back here. Besides, I have two almost crankcase breathers at this point. But as of right now, I have finally, and I can officially say, after I put this drain down at the bottom, not a single drop of actual oil out of my crankcase. There's a little bit of residual air and oil mix that has dripped out of my hose, but I mean, compared to, I mean, I don't even have a single drop on the ground. Where I was stopping before, it would just be blasting it everywhere. I mean, I'd seriously lose half of my oil coming out every single time. But this is just an aeration mix, what's made it past both of those let's just say steel wool baffles in there, and it's a little bit wet, but I mean, this, if you look on the ground, I've been parked here for a long time and there's nothing dripping on the ground at all, and I just rode this thing for about 30 miles just revving it out like crazy. It's more like just a little bit of mixture, but if you look, this is what you got to do if you want to solve that problem fully. Run it out of the crankcase however way you need to do. Run it into the outlet of this on that side. That's the outlet, because you'll see there's a baffle on this side and not on that side. Put some steel wool inside of here, tap into the bottom, run it into your head right there, and then you can run obviously your exit just to wherever seems safe to you. But that was a lot to explain, but that's the fix. If you want to fix your bike and have no oil shooting out anymore at all, your oil to return to where it's supposed to, get one of these on Amazon. I'll link it under in the description of this video so you can find it. It's only about $28. Those barbs are about $5 a piece, and the hose is about 15 bucks. So it's not too expensive of a fix, and you won't have any oil coming out of your bike at all. And what does shoot out, like I said, will go right back into the head of the bike again. If you've got any other questions regarding how to do this, put some comments and maybe I'll go into it in more depth, but that took a long time to figure that out. I hope it saves you guys a lot of trouble, because it was a lot of trouble for me.